say it is 10 o'clock, and I will now call the meeting to order. The chair notes that there is a quorum present. I see Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Shannon, and obviously I am here as well. I'm going to skip the flag salute because it's a little awkward on Zoom, and go on to additions and revisions to the agenda.
Yeah, I wanted to add the Brookfield RUA.
Okay.
We need to try to get that approved ASAP. They want to move in next week. I sent you both of you an email on all the correspondence that's been going on from the beginning. So Jared Cooley called me yesterday, and they're checking the box with DOT to get everything finalized, and it's one box they need to get checked. They'd like to start moving in Monday.
Okay. I think we can add it under 5.5 since it came up before, so unfinished business. Any other additions or revisions? If not, let's go into correspondence and public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair. In this case, just interrupt us, unmute yourself, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. For those who are dialing in via phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself, or the lower left-hand corner of your Zoom. If you came in on your computer, can also unmute, but it looks like we've got Port folks and Gilliam County staff mostly, so I'm not anticipating we have any initial comments. So as we move through the agenda, if you need to interrupt or want to ask a question as we go, we always welcome that. And I guess we'll move into correspondence. So under correspondence, let me see what we've got here. We have got a letter from the Gilliam County Historical Society regarding the deed for the property that we approved last meeting or 2 meetings ago, and their special projects grant. Basically just a thank you note from Eileen Potter, who's the vice president. And somebody's unmuted. And then we also have a letter from the Gilliam County Auction Committee. And then a letter from Cameron Barnett asking for or encouraging folks to come to the auction. So, which I thought was really cute. With his pictures of his animal, his projects, and it's a neat way for those kids to do outreach. So anything on that? If not, let's move in. And oh, by the way, for the public that wants to read those letters, they're all available as part of the court packet online. So just as an FYI. I don't read them out loud. Let's move into the consent agenda. It's a hefty one. Questions on it?
I didn't have any questions.
Oh, I think Pat's dog is barking.
Was that you barking, Pat?
Yeah, just a second. This is going to get a little crazy for a minute, but I had some questions. I just got a question. I talked to Chris Simmons the other day, and on the coordinating council, there's no representative from the Arlington City down there. And I know the statute will allow that, but I wanted to make note of that, and I'd like to see if we can't figure out how to correct that.
Okay. Okay, so do you want to just work with Chris Fitz to see if there's someone from the city that?
Yeah, we may have to do a little recruiting, but we sure should have some representation from down here at the city level on that, I think.
Okay. I think the committee only meets once a year, so we have a little bit of time, I think, to find somebody.
Okay.
because we just had the meeting like last week or 2 weeks ago. Okay, any other questions?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, which consists of consider approval of August 4th, 2021 regular meeting minutes, consider approval of August 4th, 2021 executive session minutes, consider approval of second trust deed and promissory note for Arlington TV Cooperative Loan consider appointment of local public safety coordinating council, LIPSIC members, consider approval of Gilliam Wheeler County 2021-2023 Community Corrections Biennial Plan and Justice Reinvestment Grant. Consider approval of grant agreement number 15670 for juvenile crime prevention. Consider approval of grant agreement number 14681 for juvenile crime prevention basic services. Consider approval of Konica digital copier maintenance agreement with Bonds Printing. Consider approval of Vonage Business Communications global terms of service agreement and addendum for sales order number Q-296456. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Got a lot of good stuff done there. Let me just catch up really quick and go into unfinished business. 5.1 is consider approval of resolution number R 2021-11, adopting a revised fiscal year 2021-2022 Sheriff's Office salary schedule. So as you probably recall, we approved the salary schedules back on July 21st for our non-represented Sheriff's Office and elected officials. After we approved it and the payroll went out, we discovered that there was an error in that we had not, when we added Tina's parole and probation director position, we had not calculated that with the 2.5% COLA that all the other sheriff's office employees received. So the resolution is just correcting that one error, and there's no other changes.
Hey, could you kind of remind me how all that worked? Because before, when we were with Sherman County, they paid part of that. So when it came over here, we pick up the whole thing as what she was getting paid before. Is that correct? And then we work it out with Wheeler.
So basically what happens is, yeah, she was technically a Sherman County employee, although the 3 counties contributed to her salary. When we transferred her over to Gilliam County, we have to, by law, maintain the same level of compensation that she received at Sherman County. So that's why you'll see on the calculations, it talks about her PERS, because in Sherman County, there's they require their employees to pick up the 6% contribution. In Gilliam County, we pick it up. And so her calculation on here includes the 6% that she's going to have to put toward her PERS. Ellen will take it out and put it towards her PERS for her. And then in terms of paying for her, all of the parole and probation funds for the program, they're all state dollars. And so for our IGA, our money is coming in, and then we are the fiscal agent as well for Wheeler County's money. And so Wheeler County's corrections money is coming through, and then collectively we pay her. So she's our employee, but Wheeler County contributes through the IGA that we approved a couple months ago.
So to make that clear for me, she had to pay her 6% PERS over there, but doesn't here. Is that
so? Yeah. So for this first year, for 1 year, you'll see on the on Chris's salary schedule that she put together at the bottom, you'll see what the base pay is the $79,697. And then that $5,000 is the 6% PERS. So technically Tina's compensation level is at $84,784, but 6% of that is going to go to PERS. The rest of our employees, when you look at their compensation, we pick up the 6%. So that's why hers looks a little bit elevated, is because it's got that 6% built into it, where our other employees, we just pay it. So next year, after we get through this 1 year that by law, we have to treat her the same way that Sherman County treated her, then she'll be treated like the rest of our employees. And so her compensation will go back down to not include that 6%, if that makes sense.
Yep, that's coming. Thanks.
Okay, I move to adopt resolution number R 2021-11 as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number R 2021-11 as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 5.2, consider approval of Hagewood water use agreement. Sherry.
Yes, so Mr. Hegwood has requested that we extend his water use purchase agreement to December 31st, 2023. He hasn't been using the water. It's his backup for his water business. And he's been a very good partner to us. He's helped a lot when the well was having issues, and he's just been very knowledgeable, and I've appreciated him. I'd like for us to do that. What we need to do then is, I don't know if we need a motion today, or if we just want to draw up an amendment number 4 and extend the date and then bring it back, because we have till December. It doesn't expire until then, so of 2021. So he did want us to talk about it. So it's here, and I'll work with you, Liz, and we'll get an amendment number 4, if that's okay with everyone, and then I'll bring it back for approval.
Yeah, I think that, and we can even stick it on consent agenda if there's no objections to it. I think it's pretty straightforward.
I do not object.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, let's Sherry, you and I can work together on getting the amendment, and then we can just stick it on consent agenda when it's ready.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Teresa.
5.3, discussion and possible action on Gilliam County grant writing capacity. Pat.
So Lisa sent me an email the other day that the weed master had said that there was some available grant funds, and was wondering if we had a grant writer. So, and it keeps coming up in almost every place I go, or every meeting. It seems like there's conversations about grant writing and how do we do it, and lots of different ideas, but we don't really have a good system, and we talked about it earlier. So it might require a work session, which is going to be a little harder now that we're doing Zoom again, but and I don't know how, Lisa, do you know how soon? Hang on.
Could you translate that for me, Pat? So a little background while Pat chases the canines. So the weed control officer did stop me and say that there are opportunities right now for him to leverage grant funding, but he doesn't have a grant writer. And so that's why I kind of flagged it with Commissioner Shannon and asked if we could have that discussion at County Court and see what direction you would all like to go in terms of looking at whether we do want a grant writer and how we would fund that and what the reporting construct would be. Is it a full FTE, a partial FTE? Do we need to build the costing of that into any specific grants that we ultimately write? So for discussion.
Yeah, I wondered what that looked like. Do we put a grant writer on a retainer and then as it comes up that we need to use them, then the people that need them would go to them, and then before or before they would go, they would ask our permission to use the grant writer? I'm not sure what it looks like.
You could do it that way, similar to what we do with legal counsel. Not everybody just calls up legal counsel and utilizes that service. So you could contract it out rather than actually having an employee on staff. Not sure that we could make a full FTE, but I think Commissioner Shannon also wanted to sort of explore the discussion of the wider, broader need in our community.
Yes.
As to whether there's something there that we could leverage that provides a more robust need, not just for county business, but beyond county business, maybe some of our nonprofits and things like that, that shore up the work that's happening in the community to provide businesses and jobs and infrastructure.
Well, even if we, you know, found several grant writers that we could refer and, you know, had a system in place they could contact. And we talked about a clearinghouse or whatever before with Catherine and, you know, in her suggestion, and, you know, anything we can do to kind of get a system in place that you could tell people this is what you need to do would be helpful, I think, to the entire county and the whole community.
Because to me, there's two kind of conversations that are related. One is, does the county itself need a capacity? And how do we address that internally? So whether that's a staff or member, or whether that's we just have a grant writer that's on retainer, like our legal counsel that we have, that staff is able to go and utilize. And then the second thing I think is, how do we provide capacity or connections, whatever, however we want to phrase it, for the wider community to be able to understand how to tap into those funds and resources that are available. So it seems like there's kind of a two-pronged. I mean, it doesn't, I would be curious, and maybe this is something that we can go back to staff a little bit on, as far as how much capacity we actually need internally, you know, because I know that like Chris Fitz handles all of her own grants. I don't know that she would feel like she needed somebody to help her with that, because she's been doing it for 20 years. But there may be other staff members that actually are not going after grants because it's just too difficult. So maybe it would be helpful as a first step to kind of get some feedback from the staff on identifying who would actually utilize it and about how many hours they actually need, to see whether it's actually a position that we need or if we could just contract with somebody. What do you think about that approach?
And either way, that could also marry up with the other issue, in that we'd have somebody else available however we do that.
Yeah, could we then if we did staff it, could we make it available to the community, you know, there would be a fee, but at least we would know there would be someone that was available to those entities that needed it.
Exactly.
Potentially, yeah. Okay, so as a next step, I think maybe Lisa and I can work and do some connections with staff and just get a sense of what the internal need would look like. And then maybe come back to the court with a recommendation on whether it makes sense to actually look at hiring somebody internally, or whether we're really just talking about finding an outside consultant to put on retainer.
Hey, Lisa, you talked to Don. Was that what he was suggesting? There's $3 million available for him, for Gilliam County?
Not specifically the whole $3 million for Gilliam County, unfortunately, but there was this pot of $3 million that he could apply into for whatever his fiscal needs were.
Okay.
So do we have someone to help with that at this time so that we don't
Grant,
find out on that, or?
Yeah.
Teddy, could you mute yourself? So at the moment, what happens when we do have some of the grants, which we do, the weed office manager will help facilitate that within the grantor's system. So usually, you know, they're going into a software application, but that's kind of after the fact of we've received the award.
Mhm.
So I think one of the other things that I kind of got from my conversation is because we don't have someone who's an experienced professional in grant writing, perhaps we're not receiving as many grants as we could do if we have somebody who's more, you know, experienced in that line of work that can do as a top-notch application and win us more money to do the work that we need to do.
Okay.
Okay, so Lisa and I will put our heads together, get sort of a better lay of the land on need internally. In terms of our outside folks, I think Catherine had actually sent us an email. I think you guys were both on it, maybe with some additional ideas of things that we could look at. So, I mean, everything from just creating like a simple listserv that when we get one of those federal notice of funding announcements that we're able to just forward it kind of thing. So there's some lower hanging fruit that maybe we could at least start with and kind of slowly build and engage that way.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I'm trying to find the email I got this last week that talked about grants that are available for, I believe it was ports, airports, and I think there was 3 on there that were kind of transportation type. Man, you know, when you start looking at paving the airport in Arlington, some of those things, we sit around and do nothing and miss an opportunity that might really, really be a big deal for us.
Yeah. Okay, so next steps. It sounds like we have a few. Are there any other additional ones that we want to add on for now? If not, I
That
think,
sounds like a place to start. Maybe we'll need to do a work session someplace and see how to, you know, have a central location process program in place that can be activated by everybody.
okay. Okay, we'll do some due diligence and bring back some recommendations, at least on the internal question first, and then we can go from there. Let's move on to 5.4, which is consider approval of road department equipment purchase from WI Construction. Pat, do you want to take that one? I don't see Dewey on there.
Yeah, I sent this on to him basically to send to, it came back from the attorney ready. So I sent it to Dewey to get, she didn't have WI's actual legal name. And this looks a little rough when I look at the document, but I guess we need to clean this up and type it up and get it ready to approve. We did get the equipment description attached, which she asked to have us get on there. So I mean, I think it's ready to go. Do you guys see anything that we need to do to it?
I mean, I think it would be nice if we could get it just all, this is just my type A coming out, but
Yeah.
typed up.
I agree. But can we do that internally with staff and then get it ready? I mean, getting it signed might be whenever we get by, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you guys, it depends on how you want to move forward. We can either clean it up and put it back on the consent agenda next meeting, or you could make a motion to approve it and direct staff to basically type up the written parts, the handwritten parts.
So help me in formulating a motion, but I would make a motion to approve the purchase of the WI construction equipment as listed in the addendum or the attachment.
So Pat, I think you could even simplify it if you wanted to and just say that you would approve the bill of sale with WI.
Okay,
'Cause that'll include the whole thing.
okay.
Is
So
that your
just,
motion?
so I make a motion to approve the bill of sale with WI after it's been, I don't know what you want to say, cleaned up or typed up and put on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
If you, okay, so do you want it to come back or do you want to just have it be cleaned up and have me sign it?
Oh, just clean up and have you sign it.
Okay. So it sounds like there's a motion to approve the bill of sale with WI Construction and instructing staff to clean up the handwritten portions before it's executed. Did I
That
capture
sounds
that?
good. That's good. That'll work.
Is there a second?
Yeah, that I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the bill of sale with WI Construction and to instruct the staff to clean up the handwritten portions on the draft before it is executed. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we got that one. Let's move on to 5.5, which is consider approval of Gilliam County road use agreement with Brookfield Renewable, which is not really Brookfield anymore. It's North Hurlburt, South Hurlburt, and Horseshoe Bend. Pat, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So this has been sent back and forth through legal. And last communications I had was with Gerald Cooley yesterday morning. If you look down through the string, you'll see where our legal had said that, and it was Lori, the new attorney, that has replaced or filled in for Christy, replaced her, I guess, in her capacity. And she said it looked good to her. I moved it back to Jared, who ran it through his legal for a final, and all he was looking for was the maps and rocks and asphalt specs, which Dewey told him he'd already provided. I wish Dewey was on here so we could make sure that he was supposed to have followed up on that. I did get an email from, or I believe it was an email from Dewey saying that he was good with it, except for, that just came in, except for something with the subcontractor. Hang on a minute, we'll see if I got it on text. Which would have been Morrison. I'm not finding his email, so I don't know where it is. Trying to slam this together because they want to start moving in on Monday. And everything was pretty much in place until I got that email about a half an hour ago from Dewey. So what I would like to do is make a motion to approve the RUA based on Dewey's approval. Well, what it was he wanted to be able to approve any replacement to the road or rock or asphalt. If they did any damage, he wanted him or one of his employees to be there to watch that. He wanted that added in, which I think is a good idea. And other than that, I think it's all ready to go. So I will find that email. And if we could approve it with those changes, I would be good with that.
Sherry, comments, questions?
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions. I guess.
I want to make sure I get the language right on what Dewey wanted in there, because it was real specific to his inspection of whatever they did to make any repairs at the close of the project.
Can we make a motion to approve the agreement based on Pat and Dewey's completion of the contract?
Yeah, so it could be, you could move to approve the Gilliam County road use agreement with North Hurlburt, South Hurlburt, and Horseshoe Bend, contingent on final review and approval by the roadmaster.
Yes.
Okay, I so move.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Gilliam County road use agreement with North Hurlburt, South Hurlburt, and Horseshoe Bend, subject to the roadmaster's approval.
Be approval of Morton's road closure plan. And basically his email said everything looks good to me other than Morton's road closure plan. I need to be informed also and need to have either myself or someone from the crew there to observe the dirt replacement and removal from the road.
Okay. So I think we can just leave it that Dewey needs to sign off on it, on the entire agreement. And if that's the piece that he's most concerned about, then once he's okay with it, then he can get it over to me and I can execute it.
Okay.
The other thing that we need to adjust on it as well is that it's got Leslie's name on it. So we'll need to clean that piece up as well, or I can just sign it if it's that pressing so that we don't have to find all three of us.
That might be the best since they're wanting to mow bin right away.
Okay, so what we'll do, if you guys are okay with amending it, is we'll say to approve the Gilliam County road use agreement with North Hurlburt, South Hurlburt, Horseshoe Bend as amended and subject to the approval of the roadmaster. Are you comfortable with that, Sherry?
Definitely.
Okay, and Pat, you good with that as a second?
I am good with that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we will work with Dewey to make sure that he's okay with the language, and then I'll have Teresa just remove the other names and I'll get it signed as soon as we get a sign off from Dewey. Okay, let's move on to new business. 6.1 is consider approval of school resource officer contract with Arlington School District. I'm just looking really quick to see if we have anybody from the sheriff's office on. I don't think we do. So the agenda or the item briefing, I think, lays it out pretty clearly, but the sheriff's office has been in discussions with both school districts about providing a school resource officer. And They are still working out what that would look like in Condon, but in Arlington, they have a agreement drafted. Our legal counsel has looked at it and signed off on it, as has the superintendent, Brandon Hammond, over at Arlington's school district. And so we would just be looking for approval to move forward on the contract.
Is this an additional department employee?
Yeah.
This is an existing one. So it would be, I think he's intending on Kayla being the person in both schools. And so it would not be a new FTE or anything like that. He would be using existing personnel and just kind of providing that additional visibility and service to the community.
Sounds good to me. I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, not a new FTE, just keeping his deputies engaged with our partners.
Utilizing current staff.
Yep, exactly.
So I move to approve the school resource officer contract with the Arlington School District as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the school resource officer contract with the Arlington School District as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's move on to 6.2, which is consider approval of the position description for public transportation coordinator. Lisa, do you want to take this or do you want me to kick it off?
Feel free to kick it off since you did the item briefing for me. Thank you.
Okay, so basically, we have a few vacancies in the transportation department. We still have one paid driver that we're looking for, and then recruitment for either the public transportation director or a coordinator. And so one of the things that, given how tight the labor market is right now, we were looking at trying to have some flexibility in recruitment depending on what the applicant pool is. If we don't get a director level, we still need somebody in that office. So the thought here is that we've already approved the public transportation director position description previously. And so this would be just approving the coordinator position. We would advertise that there's a position open, and then depending on what the applicant pool is, hire either a director or a coordinator, depending on who we get and what that looks like. So, but first step is actually before we can advertise, actually getting the position description approved. So that's why it's here today. Did I miss anything, Lisa?
I don't think so, but just to be clear, the coordinator position is not new. We've had that before my time, so some years now. What it is and why we're seeking approval is it needed updating to reflect some of the reporting and the responsibilities that as the programs developed over the years, there's been some of those changes too. So it really is just an update of responsibility and reporting structure.
Questions on it?
I think my only question would be the difference between the supervisor and the director. Would the if we were only able to get a supervisor, I know there's a lot of grants that are involved. Would that be something the supervisor would be taxed with doing?
So the director position is the supervisor's position. The coordinator position is not supervisory.
Okay.
But yes, a coordinator would be expected to help facilitate and manage the grants and the reporting that goes with grants, and obviously the budget that comes with that.
Okay.
Yeah, the big difference I think is really how the supervision of that department looks and who's doing the supervision. With a coordinator level, Lisa would be much more engaged and hands-on at all levels. If it's a director we hire, then the director's responsibility will be a little bit more supervisory.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
I
Not
move
for
to,
me.
I
Go
move
ahead.
to approve the position description for public transportation coordinator as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the position description for public transportation coordinator as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you
let's
all.
move on to 6.3. It's Waste Management Quarterly Report with Leah. I think I see her on there. Hey, Leah.
Good morning. So did Teresa get you guys a copy of the report?
She did.
Okay, so you guys can see the top of the page, the Columbia Ridge volumes year to date, and for second quarter, volumes were up about 12.4%, and you can see the numbers for the host fees that have been paid for quarter two and year to date through July. So some of the site updates, Columbia Ridge hasn't had any significant injuries or accidents. And we are kind of working with a new program. We've actually invited OSHA into our facility to work on a safety and health achievement recognition program, which is referred to as SHARP. And what they do is they come in and they look at our health and safety programs, our training, our facilities, and they talk to our employees and they talk to management, and it's really designed to strengthen our programs and to find any gaps and to really enhance the employee training and knowledge and just get that so it's a little bit more elevated, a little bit better program going forward. So we're working with them. They'll have several visits with us. We'll sit down with staff and with employees and work through that process. I think it's going to be a pretty good process. I think we're going to learn some things that we didn't know. So got several construction projects going on. We finished the excavation of the leachate pond, and the liner crew will be back in here in September to begin lining it. That's going to give us quite a bit more volume for leachate storage. And we're currently excavating cell 16 and getting it ready for lining. I don't think we're going to line it until next year, but we are getting the excavation done this year. We've got some new gas wells that we're planning on installing third or fourth quarter. And we've also installed a new security camera system. And we've done that at both facilities. The new security camera system, it's been installed and we're getting that operational. Chemical waste management, they are up 24% versus 2020. So we're our volumes are getting a little bit better there. We saw a pretty good slump with chemical waste management, but we're picking back up. We've also had no significant injuries. So we're doing good with our safety. We've got projects going on today with chem waste that I really wanted to talk a little bit about. Of course, the Part B renewal is ongoing, working with the agency on that. We're also submitting a Class 2 permit mod to build some additional outdoor storage. There are a couple of things that are going on out here that are we're going to need some more storage for. So the incinerators that generators typically ship to for things that are required to be incinerated, they were shut down during COVID. They had some effects of short staffing during COVID. There was also some effects with transportation during COVID. And they are backlogged, not only with production, but also with their available storage capacities. So per the regulations, a generator of hazardous waste is only allowed to store hazardous waste on their facility for 90 days. And then they have to ship it off, has to go somewhere else. A TSDF, like waste management can store waste for a year on site before it has to be managed. So we have applied to DEQ for an extension to be able to store waste at chemical waste management for longer than a year to help with this capacity problem that the incinerators are having. So we will build additional storage, and we will be able to bring these generators, waste streams in and store them in a better situation, online storage, in permitted storage, and manage it out to the incinerators from that point. So we're kind of working on doing that right now. We have received authorization from DEQ to store waste for longer than 1 year. Generators are also contacting DEQ and asking for extensions, but DEQ feels that probably what they're going to do is allow TSDFs to do longer than 1 year storage before they start granting it to generators, because it may get lost. They may lose track of it. So they think it's safer to do it at the TSDFs. The other thing that is happening that is creating a need for additional storage is a project out of, and I'm going to say the Hanford word, and this is a project that is being managed by a company called Washington River Protection Solutions. They are doing a cold commissioning of a vitrification process that they are thinking they may be able to use for encapsulating radioactive material. So this is just a test, and they're going to be creating these glass cylinders. They're pouring molten glass into a stainless steel cylinder. It's in a temperature of up to 900 degrees. And then it is going to cool inside this stainless steel cylinder. The cylinder is 4 feet in diameter and 7.5 feet tall. And it will basically, whatever is inside of that molten glass will be very encapsulated. So they want to use this as just a test. There will be absolutely no radioactive material. The first cylinders that we get will be non-regulated. It's just going to be a cylinder full of cured molten glass, period. And those, once they have cooled down to less than 170 degrees, those can go directly in the landfill. They could go directly in the landfill at Columbia Ridge if we wanted to. The second part of this will be cylinders that they are actually going to add naphthalene, chlorobenzene, lead, and chromium in. And what they're doing is making sure that once things are encapsulated in this molten glass, that they are not going to leach out of there. So it's part of being sure that when they do start using this for radioactive material, it will not leach out of there. These cylinders will have to be stored in permitted storage because they will be hazardous waste. So we are needing that additional storage space. There's a total of about 450 of these cylinders. So this process is going to probably start in October. We probably won't see anything until November, December. They're going to have to sit in storage for quite a while, and we're not really sure how long before we can put them in the landfill because they're going to be so hot. So they'll be sitting there and just cooling. All of this material will go through our portal monitor that is in place and operational today, and will be screened for radioactivity. So that is an upcoming project, and I wanted to just let everybody know what was going on with it because there's going to be some chatter, and it's from Hanford, and that we know what that does, what that raises. So we just wanted to make sure that we were letting you guys know what is going on out there. But this is absolutely just a test run. It is non-regulated, non-radioactive, and it is just simply cold commissioning of a plant. So that is going on. In terms of the portal monitor, it has been installed and it is operational. All the loads that are entering the facility are going through the portal. If there is an alarm, it doesn't really mean that it's a dangerous waste. It just means that we need to do further investigation. So what we do is we talk to the driver, we go out with the handhelds at that point, and we look at what's in there. We pull the profile, see if there's already a pathway exemption, see if we've looked into this before. And we verify one way or the other whether it is something that we can go ahead and accept, or if it's going to require further investigation, sampling, whatever that may be, and contacting the generator. So within that, within commissioning and starting up the portal monitor, we also brought in third party, and we did additional training with our employees, just to once again let them know that this is not dangerous. We are not accepting dangerous waste, and they are very well protected. They're more protected than a Hanford worker based on what they're required to wear for hazardous waste. So we did do additional training with our employees for that. The other thing that we're doing is we're working with the planning department to rezone a parcel of land adjacent to our already permitted area. And we have third party working on that also. We've been in contact with Michelle, and our third party contractor was out last week and visited with Michelle also. I think that they are very close to having that package ready to submit. So we're getting very close on that. And basically why we're doing that is we need additional land zoned for general industry so that we have the capacity to be ready to build additional landfill space with these emerging chemicals of concern, with the PFAS and with the Portland Harbor cleanup looming out there. So we just want to be prepared, have it permitted, have the rezone done. So that's kind of ongoing also. We got installation of our new security cameras done, and we also received approval from DEQ for use of cell 4C, which we finished construction on in landfill 14, which that was a very, very small 1 acre cell. It was just tiny. So do you guys have any questions on all of that? It's a lot of information.
I don't.
I don't either. Thank you, Leah.
Boy, the labor situation. Wow. We have so many positions open. I just would encourage you to all let people know that there's so many jobs posted right now on our website. Go check it out. Just about anything you could possibly imagine is posted there right now. We're just like everyone else. We need help. It's a help wanted sign in. It's huge. Let's see. The Condon Chamber, or the Arlington Chamber, received their $12,500. We're waiting on Condons to come in, and we'll be funding the scholarship fund as per normal. And we will also be supporting the Gilliam County Fair auction again this year. So that's kind of my report for that. A lot of stuff.
Great. Questions for Leah?
I don't think I have any at this time.
Thanks, Leah.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have you on the next one too.
I know.
So the next one is the Port of Arlington update. And so Leah's going to take off her waste management hat and put on her port president hat and, and give us an update.
So I just wanted to touch base, since we did just start our, with the new commissioners and everything with the Port of Arlington. And we've got a lot of different things going on. We've actually got rentals going on in the Gronquist building. Vesta is going to rent the whole lower half. And of course, you know that Rivers Edge Deli is moving into the upper half. So we're really excited that the Gronquist building is really being utilized. We've got the new restrooms and showers in at the marina. There's still some concrete work that has to be finished up on that, but they look really nice. We're continuing talks with Painted Hills. And Jeff has got a meeting with Water Bear, which is the hydrogen production company, scheduled, I think, for September 3rd. And he'll be sending out an invitation to everybody on that. I think that's pretty exciting. And then we're, of course, we're doing the joint meeting with the court this afternoon. Hopefully we can come up with a really good joint project and move ahead and get some good things done. We are also reviewing the grants that are coming in, the Oregon Heritage Grant Program. I think this grant clearinghouse project I think it's really important because all I've seen lately are emails with grants. This is available. This is available. And we need to really be tapping into that stuff. So I hope that we figure out something on finding people who can help us with getting these things done. I think it's just hugely important to the chambers, the cities, all the entities that can use it. The other thing that the port is kind of working with the chamber on is the chamber is looking at putting in handicap access to the lower park area where the basketball courts are. And they're looking into VA grants for funding that. So that's kind of ongoing too. So those are kind of all the things that we're working on. So it's busy, very busy. Any questions from anybody?
Questions on that piece?
I don't think so. Thank you. It's
You're
exciting.
welcome. Welcome aboard, Leah. It's exciting.
Yeah, I think we have an opportunity to do some really good things. So,
I agree. Yeah.
all right, thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you at 3 this afternoon. And for folks who are listening in, just so you know, the port and court will be meeting jointly this afternoon at 3 to talk about economic development projects and priorities and kind of come up with a strategy for how to partner and what the next project is we want to focus on together. So that'll be on Zoom. So if you want to listen into that, it should be a good conversation, I think. And I'm excited to talk about it. Okay, anything else on this piece? If not, let's move into 6.5, which is consider approval of modification to Gilliam East John Day Watershed Council fiscal year 2020-2021 special projects grant agreement. So we got a call from Nori Wright at SWCD, basically pleading for forgiveness and asking if we could give them an extension on their 2020-2021 special projects grant agreement. They're running into what a lot of other folks have, which is supply issues related to the pandemic and getting things purchased before the grant deadline, which was June 30th. And so I think they're very close to having everything purchased. They just needed a little bit more time. And so I think the recommendation is just to go ahead and extend it through the end of the calendar year to give them those extra couple of months to get things purchased and in. So, questions?
No question.
I move to, is there questions?
No. Go for it.
I move to amend the fiscal year 2020 through 2021 special grants award to the Gilliam East John Day Water Council, allowing the grant period to be extended until December 31st of 2021, and to authorize the county judge to prepare and execute an amended grant agreement reflecting the same.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 special projects grant award to the Gilliam East John Day Water Council, allowing the grant period to be extended until December 31st, 2021, and to authorize the county judge to prepare and execute an amended grant agreement reflecting the same. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's move into announcements and next meeting. So our next meeting is scheduled for September 1st. It is scheduled for Condon. For now, I think let's see what happens with the Delta variant and how crazy the caseloads are. So we may be moving that one to Zoom as well if we continue to have rising case counts. So stay tuned on that, but it'll still be 10 o'clock. And as always, there's always a Zoom link regardless. So whether we're in person or online. And then, of course, we already mentioned that the port and court will be doing a joint meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock over Zoom to talk about economic development projects and priorities. And yeah, Sherry, what do you have?
We were hoping that we were going to get to be back in person at Norcor tomorrow, but because of the surge, we will be meeting by Zoom again. So I have Norcor tomorrow. And then we won't meet again with Capco until September. So that was scheduled to be off in July and August. So other than that, just working on a few things for Shetler Station, some things coming up, and we'll see how that pans out. I'm going to have a conversation with Ryan DeGroft probably tomorrow, because I don't think I'm going to fit it in today, but talking about some things. So hopefully something will happen.
Great.
That's it.
Pat, what do you got going on? You're muted. Pat.
You're still muted. You're muted.
I attended the North Central Public Health District meeting last week, and a lot of discussion around COVID and where we're at. Some questions have come up. I met with Holly and Daleen Wilson regarding the feasibility study they're doing on moving to a local health district. All that's kind of in the middle, and things are kind of moving along with it. Had a real good meeting with Holly and Daleen. Some difficulty with communications with the North Health District, which I went to their meeting the other day, and they're starting some discussions on their feelings on that subject. Seems like there's some separation between the North and the South. Can you imagine that? And so I'm trying to work through keeping the lines of communications up going and moving forward with that process. It really looks like, with what I've seen, that we're probably going to need to take a real hard look at that. Looks like it's something we really want to consider at this point, from what I can see. The question that came out of that meeting I thought was kind of interesting about COVID is, how do we know it's the Delta variant? Everybody says it's all the Delta variant. Who's testing so I'm going to do some follow-up, because it was mentioned in the health district meeting last week that 100% of the hospitalized cases in Oregon are Delta variant cases. And I don't know how they obtain that, or whether they wait till they're hospitalized and tune in on exactly what it is. But it's a kind of an interesting part of what the whole conversation is around it. And then the other thing is that, in all likelihood, this is going to spike really, really fast and really hard, and it's going to fall just as fast and just as hard. And so I think based on what's happened in other countries and around the world, if that's what happens here, we've got some relief coming, I believe. It just looks a little spooky right now. Met with Cliff Bentz last week, and talked a lot about the local issues and the Columbia River Democracy Act, and then he had a town hall following. Not a lot of participation in the town hall, but he did have a town hall. And then other than that, I met with some of Avangrid's local management, and that project is going to start rolling next week. They're moving forward. And then, of course, we talked about the Brookfield ex-Caithness project, and it's starting to mow in. So things are going to probably be fairly active the north end of the county this fall, and hopefully into winter. They don't get wintered out. Probably have a really bad winter now that we've had such a hot summer, but hopefully they'll be able to keep moving and keep some things going and add some to our economy, our local economy. Other than that, keep trudging forward. Thanks.
Keep moving. Let me see what I've got on the calendar, if I've got anything else. no real meetings, big meetings to note. Some other things that we are working on, I wanted to update you that I have been in touch with both GEODC and MCED about moving development districts. Jessica Meta at MCED has had at least a preliminary discussion with her executive committee, and they are open to the discussion. So they obviously couldn't make a commitment up front. She said they are meeting again, I think in late September. And so she'll have a sort of a broader discussion with the board, and I'm sort of waiting to hear back from her on what next steps are and how she would like us, or whether she would like us to engage with her board at that meeting. So stay tuned. GEODC, their board is not meeting for, I think, a couple of months. And so Susan has not had a chance to run this by her board yet. So we're still kind of waiting to hear from GEODC whether they're open to that or not. And once I get some clarity on that front, then we would potentially start the process of actually making the transition, which consists of us, I believe, passing a resolution, and then both of the boards would have to, GEODC would have to vote to allow us to leave, and then MCED would have to vote to allow us to join. And then all of that gets packaged with letters from the governors from Oregon and Washington, since MCED represents both states, has counties in both states. And then all of that would go to EDA for approval to actually redraw the district lines. So it's a lengthy process, and we're still in the very, very early stages, but we are starting the discussions at least. So wanted to update you on that. The other thing that is happening that you should probably be aware of is that folks in the South End are struggling with childcare right now. And so there's a great need. We've got a lot of families that are moving in with young kids, which is fantastic, both for our schools and the vibrancy of the community. But the challenge of that is the childcare infrastructure just isn't there to support the number of young kids that we have. So there are some discussions happening or starting to happen about what we need to do to address that. I don't have any solutions, but I did want to note that during the budget committee, we had talked about, or I'd been assigned with sort of coming back with an endowment kind of idea, and I am working on that. So I'm hoping to have at least an initial presentation for the county court prior to the budget next year, so that you get a sense of where I think this might be going. But I just wanted to flag that for you, that that's sort of popping up recently because the childcare, due to COVID and funding, has had to sort of adjust the amount of services they're able to provide this upcoming school year. So,
Hey, Liz, I was up there for the class reunion and got an earful from a mother or two about the problems on that end. And, part of the primary problem is I think the childcare up there is closing at 4:30 in the afternoon, which is really a struggle. But we close. I think the one in Arlington's closing at 5:30 or 6. But the problems on both ends of the county. It's not just there. I think it's a real issue that's really affects us. So.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I can speak from experience. It's difficult to have a young child and work full time in the community right now. There's not a lot of resources and caregivers outside of our established facilities, and they have capacity issues, especially with young kids. Even with funding, unfortunately, would not resolve some of the problems that we have, because there's they just don't even have the space right now in some cases. So it's a broader issue. I think we're going to have to look at how to meet that capacity demand. So I think that's all I've got.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the North Gilliam Health District. I had intended to attend the meeting because I had met with Holly and Daleen as well, and I wanted to hear their presentation. And then Holly had sent me an email that morning telling me the meeting had been canceled. And I tried to find their website to see if there was any information. I couldn't find anything that would tell me specifically what was going on with them. Does anybody know? They have no web page. They don't communicate that way. I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't know. Pat, do you know?
Yeah, I had the same question. I got the same email. And so I called Mark Mitch as chairman of the board, and the meeting was on. They canceled that portion of the meeting because Dave Anderson was not going to be there.
Okay.
And so because of some of the concerns over the feasibility study and response from the North District, I took a packet to their board meeting and gave it to their chairman for them to review, and hopefully we'll continue to have some discussions off of keeping the lines of communication open and moving forward with it. But they did have a meeting. It was very, very short, 15 minutes. So
Okay.
that's what I know today. I'm kind of in the middle of it on this, just trying to follow up with what's going on with the feasibility study and make sure that they're in the loop and know what's going on and try to clean up the communications level.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, what the response was and see what we could do to help. So, okay, thank you.
Okay.
It still didn't answer my question. They don't have a web page. They don't communicate in that way at all, apparently.
Everything I get comes through Mary. I believe she's sending out the emails, and I'm just on their email list. I don't know whether they got a web page or not.
Okay. Well, they don't. I can tell you that.
Okay, so we have concluded through our agenda. We were scheduled to have an executive session at 12:30, but we actually, I think, can move that up if you guys are open to that. Because I see Diana's on there. So would you guys like to take a little break? And then I think our intention would be to come back into and go ahead and do the executive session. For the public who is listening in, so that you are aware that it is possible that the county court may come out of executive session and take action on the collective bargaining agreement. So if you are interested in that, you'll want to stay in the public room during the executive session. But commissioners, would you like a quick break before we do that?
That would be super.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's plan on coming back, say, maybe 5 minutes or so, if that works for everybody.
That works.
Okay, we're going to take a quick recess and then we'll be back. Okay, so we'll come out of recess. We're going to be moving into executive session in accordance with ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. I have a script that I'm going to read. Again, I'm going to let the public know the county court is going to go into a separate virtual room for the executive session. I want to note for the record that it is possible that when we come out of executive session and back into the general session, that there may be additional action or decision on the collective bargaining agreement. So I just wanted to flag that for you, that if you are interested in seeing that, you will need to just hang out in the public room until the court comes back. So with that, I will go ahead. I have two things I need to do. One, I need to declare a conflict of interest before we go into the executive session that my dad is a union member. So I will be here to open and close the session, but won't be participating in the executive session or any action after. And with that, I will go ahead and read the scripts that I have. The Gilliam County Court will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602D, which allows the court to meet in executive session to consider information to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to vacate the courtroom. Not relevant today. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. Again, we are anticipating we will come back to the general session. At the end of the executive session, we'll return to the audience in the public virtual meeting room. And again, it is possible the county court may take action on the collective bargaining agreement upon their return. So with that, I will ask Lisa to go ahead and move the court into the executive session room, please. Okay, we are back into the public session. And I would just make sure I got Commissioner Shannon, Commissioner Wilkins. I see Lisa's on there. Diana made it back. Teresa made it back. Okay, we're all in here. So we will go ahead and resume the meeting. We are on 8.1, which is possible action on collective bargaining agreement between Gilliam County and Gilliam County Local Union number 3326, AFSCME Council 75. I will go ahead and state again for the record that I have a conflict of interest. My dad is one of those union members, so I will not be participating in the deliberations or or decisions of the court. And I will turn it over. One of the commissioners, do you guys want to take this, or Lisa? Or do you just want to make a motion?
Commissioners, how would you like to proceed?
I think that I'm ready to make a motion. But I'm trying to find it if we've got one prepared.
We do. Would you like me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think we are ready for a motion. I move to approve the collective bargaining agreement between Gilliam County and Gilliam County Local Union number 3326, AFSCME Council 75, from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the collective bargaining agreement between Gilliam County and Gilliam County Local Union number 3326, AFSCME Council 75, from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then obviously I will abstain. The motion passes. Okay, with that, do we have anything else for the good of the order? I will just say publicly, I just want to thank Diana and Lisa and Pat for their work on the negotiations. I also see that Kelly Smith is on there, and so want to extend as well appreciation to the union, and we're excited that we have an agreement.
Thank you, everyone, for your hard work.
Yeah. Anything else for the good of the order, commissioners or public?
I'm good.
Okay, it's 11:46, and I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.